Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Boss Coaching Podcast Season 2. This is episode 5, and I'm so excited for you to hear the story of Orlenda. She is a founder of Pero I Can Do It Too, a money and budgeting coaching service. She teaches other women of color to reach their financial goals, to save, to create a budget, all so that they can experience a life that they never saw their family experience. So I'm excited for you to learn more about her. She's a fellow introvert like myself, and she shares with us how she's navigated her imposter syndrome, how she's navigated her authenticity on social media, and how she's gotten to a new place in her business. So I hope you learned so much from her journey as an introvert entrepreneur, and I can't wait for you to listen to her story. But before we dive into the episode, I do want to remind you to come on over to beabosscoaching.com. There you can find the other podcast episodes. A whole season 1 is out. There's 22 episodes there that I hope are enjoyable and engaging and full of information. And we also have a blog. There's some freebies that you can download. And we also have the link where you can schedule a complimentary call if you've been interested in starting your own business and not really sure where to start. Trust me, if you're someone that's been thinking about starting your own business, you want to make your own money, you want to turn your passions and your mission into a business, I invite you to schedule a complimentary call and see if coaching is right for you. If this episode was helpful or you've listened to any other episodes, please remember to leave a rating or review. And because this is a brand new, I have never done a YouTube channel before. So if you're new here and you're watching this on YouTube, which I'm sure you will since I'm doing a video, I hope that you subscribe, like, share, and follow along this journey. And I hope that you get so much value from this channel, the podcast, the freebies, the blog, the content on social media. There's so much amazing content for you that I've created. And if you resonate with me, you resonate with my story and the stories that I want to highlight on my podcast, again, come on over, leave a review, subscribe, let us know. I'd love to hear from you. All right, enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Be a Boss Coaching Podcast, a leading podcast where we redefine entrepreneurship through the entrepreneurship journeys of women of color, BIPOC, and queer entrepreneurs. I'm Beatriz Rivera, and as a social worker turned entrepreneur coach and podcast host, I share my own journey and story. I decided to start my own coaching business during the pandemic when I was helping my dad, a veteran business owner, to keep his 23-year-old business open. Since then, I've thrown myself into courses, coaching, podcasts, and books. However, I've learned that entrepreneurship is a journey and we can all learn from each other's stories, mistakes, successes, and redefining the boundaries of what entrepreneurship can be. Subscribe to get new episodes every Monday and Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And we are officially live. I'm so excited. I am really excited to be bringing to y'all today a very awesome conversation. And not just a conversation that I've been having so much excitement around, it's with a dear friend that I've known since, I don't know, 2 years ago. But I have with me today dear Orlenda, and I am so excited, Orlenda, for you to introduce yourself, introduce your business, and we can take it from there, and then we'll keep going. Thank you, Orlenda, for being here.
Hi, no, thank you for having me. I actually forgot that you and I met in person in 2021.
No, I
It,
had to remind you.
and that was such a great time, and we've been staying connected since then. But hi, everyone. My name is Orlenda. I am a money coach, and I help women of color build a life that they have never seen their family experience. And I have never been so close to a mission before until my business. So I am excited to share with you all today.
Yay! I am so excited for you to share with us your journey and some of your money tips because, girl, I know your story around your debt, and we're gonna get into all of that, right? Like, I've told you my story about my debt before, right? Like my student loan debt and like how much debt I have. I've shared it on my podcast before as well. And so it's been such a gem and treat to see everything that you share and all of the information that you provide on the social media. So I'm really excited to get into it. But yeah, Orlenda and I met back in New York, actually. But it's really funny because we are both from California. And I remember when we first met, you were still living, I think, in North Cal, right?
Oh my goodness, that's right, in San Francisco.
Yeah, yeah. So you were living in San Francisco, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so fun!" Because you were from California, and I was really when I met you in New York, I was looking forward to coming back and connecting here in California, like more local time. You were much closer, and then you moved to Washington.
Washington State, yes.
Yeah.
And when I met you, Bia, I had no idea I was moving quite yet. I mean, I knew the idea that I wanted to move, but I didn't know how fast it would happen. And then I met you, and a month and a half later, I had this dream that was telling me I was traveling between Texas and the Bay Area to visit family and friends. And so I took that to heart and I'm like, my dream is trying to tell me something because my dreams are always trying to tell me something. Okay. So then that day, I messaged some friends and I'm like, this is a dream I had. And they said, you need to lean into it. You need to do something about it. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I started by having conversations with my family. And then a month after that, I put a down payment in Washington State for a new build. It happened so quick.
That is yeah. I mean, talk about really leaning into your dreams. Like, that is incredible that you did that, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But and I guess we can transition into that now because you are someone that has had a unique story around your money journey, hence why you became a money coach. And I got to know a little bit about it, but if you can share with your listeners how your life and your career brought you to this intersection of becoming a money coach.
Oh, life and career. Yeah, it's so interesting. So, life wise, I came to the US at the age of 10, and I wasn't documented until the age of 21.
Wow.
So, yeah, I remember being in my apartment. I used to live with roommates, and college was just like 3 blocks away from where I used to live. And I paid college with scholarships. That's a whole different like part of my story too. But I remember when DACA passed, which is deferred action. Oh my goodness, I am forgetting it. Okay.
Deferred action for childhood arrivals.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Thank you for saving me.
I got you, girl.
Obama passed that. And so I applied. I was one of the very first people to apply. People were really scared, of course, because you were giving them your address and everything. So nothing happened. And I did get my social security number and I received it. And I remember the first time I got my social, I started applying to so many credit cards because I remember growing up, I was told that I always needed good credit so that I could get a car, I could get an apartment, a house, and all the things. And I was like, yeah, bet I'm gonna get good credit because it's what I do. Like I was such a good student, always trying to get A pluses. And so, yeah, I applied to a lot of credit cards, maxed them all out, 16 of them. And very quickly, I found myself in debt, stressed, and anxious around money. And so that's what led me to get here because we are told, yes, get good credit, but like how? How do credit cards work? How do I get out of debt? How do I manage my money once I start earning it? And it's everything I didn't have, and which led me to increase my salary 3 times because I thought, "Okay, well, the more I earn, the faster I can get out of debt." No, 3 times happened. I increased my income, nothing happened, I was still in the same hole. So that is one of the reasons why I started this business. And career wise, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like when I grew up, I wanted no, I didn't know. I didn't have anybody to tell me how to choose a career, a degree. I was just like going through a book, and I was like, huh, this sounds interesting. Huh, this sounds interesting. And finally chose one. And I remember I once I got my social, I'm like, "Okay, I need to work. I need to get out of debt and do all of this." I got help from a job agency, and they placed me at a nonprofit to work as an executive assistant. And back then, I wasn't proud of it at all. I'm like, I didn't go to college to be an assistant. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And I was never proud of it. But the money was more than I have ever seen. And I was like, yes, sign me up. So I got the job, and the mission was aligned with me. But years later, I am so thankful to have worked where I worked and with executives because I learned a lot about how they carried themselves in business and all the back end and admin stuff. And so I think that really helped me to where I am today and make the decisions I have to make.
That's amazing. I didn't know all of that. This is why I love talking to you because I learn something new from you every day. I didn't know that you had applied to 16 credit cards. Girl, like that
Yeah.
thing that is I can't imagine that because I remember for me, I was so afraid to open up a credit card for so long. I didn't open up my very first credit card that I ever opened up. It wasn't even a real credit card. It was one of those, I think it was an Old Navy credit card. I think it was like a retail credit card. And and no, or maybe it was Macy's, but I know those are the only 2 retail credit cards that I have. I still have them open, but I remember those were the 2 that I opened for the first time, and I didn't even know, can I use this outside of Macy's or outside of Old Navy, right? I didn't know any of that, and then when I was in New York, I had a friend who was getting married in Bali, and I really wanted to go to Bali, and I opened up a credit card to do that, and
Okay.
that was my first credit card, and I was 27 years old, my first credit card. So the fact that you're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get credit and open up all these credit cards," and I didn't know that that was the case for you, but I love that your story, like, your experience around that led to you figuring out how to get out of that and then teaching that to other people because yeah, most people don't know that. They don't know that.
No, they don't. And you know what? My mom, this is the part that I don't understand. I need to talk to her about it, but my mom had very good credit.
Mhm.
And then they lost the house in 2008.
Mm,
And so she was able to come back from that. It did take 7 years,
yeah.
but she was very disciplined. But you know what happens is that she didn't share with me what she did, you know? It's
Mhm.
like she kept the information. I'm like,
Yeah.
Mom," and also, like, I didn't know how to have the money conversations, like, at that time, I wasn't thinking, "Wait, does my mom have good credit? Wait, does my mom know?" It's like we didn't talk about it, Bia.
Yeah.
Crazy to think about it. I'm thinking about it, I'm reflecting on it, and it's like, I cannot believe this. Yeah.
Yeah, our parents don't I mean, even if they do know, I just had a similar thought because I was thinking back to the time that I bought my first car, right, on with my own money because I had the very same thought when you were like, "Oh my gosh, this is my first paycheck, look at it." And I don't remember the exact amount, but I do remember the moment that I got my very first biweekly paycheck, and it was at my first office job. Because I had other jobs before that, but I worked at a deli and I worked at a library, so my paychecks were $200, $300 every week, you know? And so my very first office job right out of college, I remember getting my first paycheck. It was, um, maybe almost $900. It was 875, something like that. And I remember looking at the amount and feeling like, "What? I'm fucking rich." You know, like, I am so fucking rich. I've never gotten this much money all at one time before. I was like, "What is going on? This is life. This is adulting. This is work." I
Well,
love it, you know?
yeah, and then we think, like, "Okay, this is a lot," and in that moment, we think it's a lot, and then life
Yeah.
starts happening, right? And we
Mhm.
start inflating our lifestyle, and it's like, "Where is my money going?"
Yes. Girl, I bought a BMW. Like,
It's
this okay, let me I mean, if we're gonna talk I'm not even gonna go into that. But that was one of my that was one of my worst financial decisions I've ever made in my life, and because of this thrill, this, like, I my own money, like, this much, and I can make it in 2 weeks? Like, what? Okay. Like,
Yeah.
so I totally relate to that and how that can quickly snowball into a problem. So, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I wanna talk a little bit about imposter syndrome because you and I have talked a little bit about this in our own conversations and us when we have conversations and catch up on our businesses and what we're doing, we talk about feeling like an imposter in our own fields, in our own businesses. And so I know that this is not unique to you and I. A lot of first business owners might feel that or may feel that, especially if we're learning new business skills and how to run a business. So, how did you manage to get your first few clients as a new money coach with this in mind, with if this was happening for you in your head?
Yeah. Well, imposter syndrome just doesn't go away.
Yeah,
I
so
like
true.
that I get better at it, but, I get better at telling myself that whatever feeling I'm feeling is temporary and it's not true. I go to therapy, and between my therapist and I, we named my imposter syndrome, and his name is Chucky. Okay. So whenever I'm in therapy, she says, "And who's saying that, Orlenda?" I'm like, dang, it's Chucky. She goes, "Is it your truth?" No. So that's how we addressed imposter syndrome at in my therapy session.
Wow, that's actually a really good idea. I think we should all name it, and Chucky is a great name because fuck that guy, you know, he's scary.
She let me choose, and Chucky came to mind.
Yeah, yeah, I hear
But
you.
so the way I actually started my business was 2020, you know what hit, and I started therapy for the first time. And so I started like exercising my voice. I'm like, "This is how I feel." And they were just normalizing my feelings, and I was like, "Oh, there's, like, nothing wrong with me. It's just, like, we have these feelings." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then, uh, in 20 yeah, December 2020, I decided I was sick of being home, and I was turning to be a little bit more lively. Like, I wanted some music, I wanted to dance, but we couldn't go anywhere. So I hired a someone online to teach us how to dance bachata. And I grew up and I was told I couldn't dance growing up. And so I didn't grow up dancing. But for some reason, I was being called to dance in December 2020, hired somebody, chose bachata, uh, and then I surprised myself. Like, I knew how to move, I knew how to dance, I was following the routine so well, and at that moment, it just hit me. I was like, "Oh, everything I was told is just not true. Like, I can dance." And I was like and it feels so liberating. So at that moment between, like, therapy and dancing, I just felt like I was on top of the world, like I could become the next president type of feeling. And then I was in talks with Kat, who was our business coach at the time, and hired her in 2021. And January 6th is when I started saying, I am a coach, I am a money coach on Instagram. And from there, about a month later, I got my first client. And I was like, is this real? Are they going to show up? And it was like, yeah, it just I couldn't believe it from there. So that's how I kind of have managed imposter syndrome, and it led me to my first client.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
would you say was the particular activity that you felt was the thing that helped you land that first client?
Mm. I think I have been talking about my journey a lot. And the way I talk about money, I make people feel safe to talk about money. I talk about my struggles as well. So people know that it's like I go through them too, have gone through them too. I think that that led me to my first client because one, they can see that I've gone through it and that they are not alone. And also, I was just in service at that time and I continue to be in service. And I just want to help people. And that is the energy that has allowed me to continue to show up because whenever Chucky wants to tell me that, you look silly or you don't know what you're talking about online, what I tell myself every single time is my people need me.
Mm,
Yes, there's a lot of people out there, but I talk about money in different ways and my people need me. And
mm.
so that helps me show up online and help women of color manage their money better, get out of debt, feel less stressed and less anxious and all the things. But that's truly what gets me because I can
Yeah.
get a lot. Yeah.
I thank you for saying that. I think sometimes I've talked to you about this where we I feel this paralyzation, I guess, if you wanna call it. Like, I feel this paralyzation of like, "Oh my gosh," especially in the very beginning, "Why do I even sound like that? Who would even listen to me? Like, why does my voice sound like that? Why do I look that like that?" Like, I look like I'm 18, no one's gonna take me seriously. Like, those are, like, some of the thoughts that I had for myself. And getting past that and into, "But no, people really need this information. Like, this is really important." Like,
Yeah.
getting past that is difficult and it's possible.
It
Uh,
is. No,
yeah.
I hear it, Bia. I mean, I the person you see online, so I say that I'm an introvert, and I am,
Mhm.
and then people see me online, and I'm like, "Okay, those are snippets, though." So I'm like,
Yeah.
"'Cause I have to, I'm not gonna come from the couch and tell you."
Yeah.
Right? But I still struggle with showing up as authentic as possible because one side of me that I don't show online is I have a husband who is a gamer, and I recently became a gamer.
Oh,
Uh,
girl, we need to play.
yes, we do. And during the pandemic, I started playing Animal Crossing. I started an Instagram page because I wanted community. I
Yes.
built that community to 1,000 followers, and I was like, "Wait a second, something is happening here, and I need to do something with it." My thing is always like, I wanna help people.
Yeah.
That's how I switched, and I was like, "If I did that with gaming, I can do that here." But the reason why I was saying that is because I commented on someone who started following me in one of their photos, and she was wearing this jacket that had Kirby on it.
Yeah.
And I messaged her and I said, "Oh my God, are you a Kirby fan? Because I am." And she's like, "Yeah." And so she just started like talking to me and I started talking to her and she became my client this week. And it's like, imagine if we just show up more authentically, how many more people will be able to say like, "Oh my gosh, we have so many things in common." So
Yeah.
that's a word for me. So I can hear this later. It's like, be more authentic, Orlenda.
Yes, I love it. I mean, when you hear this back, you'll be like, "Yeah, that's right, me." Like, I love that. No, that's so good. I feel like it takes some time. I know I take time trying to get myself into that mindset of I wanna just be me and show up as someone who just wants to help, right? And then it like I said, it goes back to managing and navigating those feelings of like, this is a business. Like, I want to show up professional and I want to make sure people know that what I'm talking about. People know that I'm serious about this. This is not just some hobby. No, I know my shit. And I love playing video games and I fucking love like trash TV and eating ranch. Like, and like, messing around with my dog in the middle of the day when, like, I don't know where to focus. You
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. And I didn't know that you played video games either. So we'll have to connect.
We have to. Real quick, what
Yeah.
if any, are you playing any video games right now? Like, what are you playing?
Okay. Animal Crossing, I always go back to. It's safe to let go. Disney Dreamlight, I have to get into. I bought it.
Yeah.
And then RuneScape, which is on the computer actually. And it's like kind of an old game, PC game.
Ooh.
And with friends, Mario Kart and Mario Party.
Ooh, that's fun. Those are always fun. I need to get those, Mario Kart and Mario Party because 'cause
Yes.
I'd love to play. Yeah, I'm playing I just started so Sean is also a big gamer, and he randomly bought, this the game, I keep calling it Harry Potter game, but it's not called Harry Potter. It's the Hogwarts,
Yeah.
Legacy game.
Yeah.
I am obsessed. I'm obsessed. That's all I wanna do every single day for hours. Like, after this, I might do that. No, not even because I have another meeting at 5. But every single day,
Single
like,
game.
even yesterday, I was playing it till 10 PM, and then I went to bed. But, yeah, so that's cool. We need to catch up on gaming for sure.
Yes, because that's on my list.
Yes. Alright. So, one thing you mentioned is trial and error is a huge aspect of your entrepreneurship journey. And I'm just curious, how do you deal with the error part of it? Right? Like, I feel like taking risks and when things might go wrong it's so scary.
Yes.
So, but it is such a huge part of entrepreneurship and being able to build your business. So, I'm wondering how you deal with the ideas, and that's easy, right? Like, we can have ideas for days, but how do you navigate the parts when you try something out and you're not sure how it's gonna go turn out or what the outcome is, and maybe it's a complete failure. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. Well, I think 2 things help me. I'm an eldest daughter, so for the longest time, I always try to be perfect on everything I did
Mm,
and try to have some people be proud of me, and then whatever I did wasn't enough. And so, that's, like, one part. And then secondly is I get in my head a lot, and I don't move the needle. I don't
mhm.
start. But ever since I started my business, can we use F-bombs here or
Yeah, go all
I
out, drop them.
okay, great. I was like, "Fuck this, man." Like, I'm so sick and tired of the excuses, of, like, the learning part, of, like, "Let me read this one more thing, and then I can show up this way so it's perfect."
Mhm,
So, I just got sick and tired of it, of all the excuses I was making, and I'm like, "You know what? Fuck this, and if it doesn't work, then we'll try again, and if
mhm,
that approach didn't work, then we're gonna try again." What really keeps me going is I know, like, the end goal where I wanna get, and then I just keep, like, trial and error on all the things. I mean, I do have a bit business coaches, right? So, that helps a lot and,
mm,
guide me in the right direction,
yeah,
but there are things that I have to make, choices on. And yeah, if they don't do good, then we just move on to the next thing, and now I know that it didn't work and I won't do it again. But I
mhm,
think I just got sick and tired of waiting until I was quote unquote ready,
mhm,
and the excuses. And I just like launched myself. I'm like, okay, we just gotta go now. I don't
yeah,
want to wake up, Bia. I don't want to wake up when I'm 40 and I'm 50 and just wished I started earlier, you know?
mhm, yeah, so good. I you don't even have anything to add to that. Like, everything that you said, it's exactly how I've been feeling too, like, "Ugh, fuck everything, let's just try this," you know?
Worst
And
that can happen, you know?
yeah,
We
yeah,
try-
and yeah, sometimes you need to sometimes it's okay like, I will say, I think one thing is that sometimes it does take a little bit of time to get there, right? To get to that, like, "Fuck this place."
Oh, yeah.
It takes time. But like you said, you mentioned a coach, you mentioned working with coaches. I think that definitely helps to work through that, to work through those like, ugh, like this is scary, the error part of it. But the more you do it, the more you kind of just keep going. And even if you're making moves, they're not panning out the way that you want them to pan out, for example. Like, let's say, like the other day, it was my first webinar. I was like, fuck, like, I'm so fucking scared. I had my first webinar in 2 years that I've started this business. I should have done this 2 years ago. Besides my co host, one person showed up and who's a really good friend. And I'm like, okay, I did it. Now I can move on, you know? Like, the next one should be better. The next one I can learn from it. And
Yeah.
so those moments of just whatever happens will happen, you learn from it, you keep going, and people will support you.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
And to add on to that, you're right. So I don't want people to think like, oh, you just say fuck it. Yes, you're right. I do have business coaches that I'm constantly investing in. So I didn't
Yeah,
just decide and showed up. I have had help.
yeah,
So just want people to know that. And therapy also helps. A supportive husband or partner always helps. I think the part that I'm lacking on is community.
mm,
And so my next investments in coaches will be that they have a community that I can be part of because, for example, you and I have been connecting and those conversations have been so helpful to for us to continue in our businesses and get out of our heads. And it just feels lonely, but just to know that, okay, I'm not the only one going through this. Bia is also in somewhat, going through it. It helps. It
Oh,
helps.
yeah, so much. And even the community part, I can't stress that enough. I cannot. You have to find your business besties, the people that you can go to, like, "Hey, are you experiencing this? Like, how are you dealing with it?" Grow together, grow together. So I'm grateful for you. And I actually just joined a mentorship program too that's like, with a community base, so, like, I invest myself like, investing in yourself in mentorship or business coaching, group communities, those will progress you. You will learn so much from different people. I'm so glad that you shared that. So glad. Alright. Okay. Any failures you feel like that have lingered that you wanna share? Like, because I feel like sometimes with entrepreneurship, we love to share our wins, right? And it's great. We should share our wins. We should celebrate our wins, and we can also learn from failures. And I'd like to hear if you have any stories of failure that you wanna share that you've learned from.
Yeah. I actually don't think that they are failures because the way I think about failures is if you give up. And I'm like, I'm still here. I'm not giving up.
Ooh, that's
But
right.
I have a lot of lessons. And yeah, a lot of things have gone wrong. I think one of the things though that I've learned is not to make it about myself. Oh, like for example, uh something I thought of was about 2 years ago, I think, around the same time as you, I also did workshops. And just being visible and being in front of people, I didn't feel comfortable. I was super nervous and I didn't want to do them. For some reason, what didn't help my cause was I either didn't share the correct link. I My husband is a techie, so, like, he was telling me I needed to have people do things because of security, and I'm like, "No, because it" anyway, I showed up to my workshop and, like, nobody was there. It was so embarrassing. And then finally one person was able to come on, and so we just did a one-on-one coaching for her, which was great. And then I made it about myself, and then I didn't show up again until this year. So almost 2 years later. And I just completed one of my workshops and it was the best feeling. And I didn't have all of those hiccups. And I plan on doing another one. But I guess when things go wrong, I make it like, "Oh, it was my fault. Oh, this. Oh, it was that." And so I almost have this expectation that I need to show up on my business like perfectly and I should already know because I already have a business. And it's like, no, we have been doing corporate and we don't have people to tell us how to run our businesses really. And we're learning as we go. And I'm just so hard on myself. And I'm starting to kind of remove that. And if things go wrong, it's like, has nothing to do or say anything about me. We're just gonna, learn what went wrong here so we could do it better on the next one. And I no longer want things going wrong to paralyze me from moving forward because the reason why I'm here is because I want to serve my people. And I didn't do a workshop for 2 years. So I'm back and I'm doing workshops and I'm going to learn from my mistakes to keep on going. So, but I run away and I'm like, can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, you did it though, you're coming back, and that inspires me as well because like I told you, I never done a webinar because to me in my head, a webinar was like information. I need to know my shit. I need to have a deck. Like, I need to have a flow. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was so intimidated by that. And so I ended up calling it a not webinar because like it was
I love
yeah, but I mean, it's so I still want to do another one like, because I've learned from this one, but I wanna be there for the next one. So the next one you have, please let me know, and if you need help, I'd love to be your, like, back behind the scenes, like, person that can help you with things. If you need me, I can do that. I'll be there for
That
you.
is so that
What
is
happened?
so kind. Thank
Oh, yes, of course. You know I got you, girl. Okay, so before we shift gears a little bit, you mentioned therapy, and I know you've talked a little bit about trial and error and investing in coaching for yourself, right? As things that have helped you in your journey as an entrepreneur. You mentioned therapy is part of your journey and trial and error and also the coaching part, right? Like you've invested in coaching different coaches for yourself. Can you talk about what entrepreneurship means to you? And maybe you can just talk about therapy in general because I feel like we
Yeah.
talked about trial and error. But how has investing in therapy and things like that helped you figure out how you see yourself as an entrepreneur or like what that even means to you?
I think the reason why I wanted to start my business was freedom, because I didn't want to rely on a 9 to 5 to dictate when I was getting time off, how much I could get paid, or waiting for a raise for someone to see my value. I think that going to therapy really helped me find my voice and start to heal my wounds of either prior jobs that I had or things that I was told growing up and that were limiting me from earning more. And the way that that shows up in my coaching is I inspire, I empower women to also go and either start something for themselves or advocate for themselves too. Because it's totally fine if they do a 9 to 5, but if they wanted a business. Um, One of the things though, so since I started my business 3 years ago, I was just laid off this month and my reaction to that was, I am so fucking excited. And I did a mini vlog that I can't wait to post it. But it's just, I'm so thankful for Orlenda 3 years ago, being scared, but doing it anyway and showing up online and building a business because now that I'm laid off, I didn't feel scared. Like I have something to fall back on and I have my business that's going to pick me up and we're going to go in full time and full swing. And I can no longer play small. I can no longer hide, right? So be invisible, serving more, and all of those things. I'm like so thankful that I started 3 years ago.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for sharing that, your story around that is so hard and one, I'm sorry that that happened, the layoff. There's no that is always difficult regardless, right? Like where you are in life. It's always hard to go through and thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with us. And you did start this 3 years ago and now you have this community like you've built a platform, you've built something. I think that that really illustrates why I love business, why I love when people start their businesses because we can feel secure and safe and cozy in a job. But at the end of the day, you really don't know what could happen. You do really do have no idea, absolutely no idea what could happen. And I feel like with entrepreneurship and starting your business, yes, it's fucking hard. It is it's tough, like, to go out there, try to sell something, build community, tell people you're X, Y, and Z coach or whatever type of business owner you are. But that work, oh my god, like, you're right, it builds you into someone that if something were to happen tomorrow, like, you can go out there and, like,
Yeah.
live your life.
Exactly. And I think the part that we're so loyal, you know? I don't know what it is about us, but we're very loyal to our jobs, and we expect the same from them, from our 9
Mhm.
to 5. That's just never going to happen, and I think that the hard part for me was hearing the news was, I was excited, but then 3 days later, I did cry, and I think the part was that I was there, I believed in the mission, I moved from another org to them, and then I was laid off 8 months later. If I would have known that, I probably wouldn't have, jumped ships then, but, like, you never know, and they're never going to be loyal to you or see the value because at the end of the day, it's a business, and it they're gonna care about them, not, the employees, so that's kind of the hard part.
Yeah, so, so true. But I'm rooting for you. So I'm gonna share everything. Like that's the best thing about connecting and really collaborating and making those relationships with other business owners. Like you can rely on them. You can be like, hey, like this is what happened, and you rely, and your community will hold you. So don't worry, girl. I got you.
And no, thank you. And I think the universe is just trying to tell me it's time to pivot. And I'm like, universe, you could have sent me a sign. But
Yeah.
you didn't.
Like, come on,
And
bitch, get it together.
I get it together. Yeah. I think I was too comfortable. And I went as soon as I heard the news, went a full speed in my business and signed 4 clients in 1 week. So
That's amazing.
I can't believe it, and I keep asking myself, "What is life? What is happening right now?" But I think I was just too scared. I was too safe in my 9 to 5,
Mhm.
and now that safety's taken away, and I'm fully serving my
Mm,
community, and things
amen.
are gonna look different on my end, and thanks, universe.
Yeah, you could have given us a sign, but, whatever. I guess you did your job in the end.
It did,
Awesome.
yeah.
Alright, well, let me shift gears to your money coaching. So, can you tell me why you work with women of color, and what do you see in your work as a money coach as the biggest financial challenge for women of color?
Yeah. Part of my story that I don't share much, 'cause it's really sad, was I grew up in a very toxic household. And so financial abuse is a thing. And my mom couldn't, leave. And so if she had the tools and the finances in order, she could have fled to safety faster. So, like, that is one part of my story that I rarely share, but it is very close to my heart. The other part is women are already underpaid. We struggle so much to advocate for ourselves. And I want to empower women to feel safe with money, to feel good about managing their money so that they can get out of any toxic situation that they might be in. And that's why I work with women of color. And I have a client who is very close to like my story that when I heard this story, I kind of it was hard to have the call with her. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is why I am doing the work. And it's because we need the tools. We are so smart, but we don't have the tools to use to get us out of situations and build wealth. So, yeah, that's why I do it.
What would be something they can do in the moment?
Yeah, I'll say 2 things, like, very simple on it is being able to have your own income. So, if you're a stay-at-home mom, I want you to be a stay-at-home mom because you choose to be a stay-at-home mom and you feel good about it, not because it's expected of you. And then, secondly, is always having your own savings. So, if people have mixed feelings about this, like once you're married, everything has to be joint. And it's like, do what works for you. It's okay to have separate accounts in one joint, or all separate. It's whatever works for that person. But I think that having an income is important unless you choose not to. But I just wanted to make sure that it's yours. And I just want to say I'm not a like therapist or advice or anything. Please seek legal advice if you are in this situation. And then the other thing is, yeah, have your own savings because that's always going to help you should you want to take, steps or help you in any way. But it's okay to have your own money. Very often in those situations, it's like you can't work because you're being told to. And then the other part is you can't have your own money and
Mm,
so it's controlling and abuse at the end of the day. So those are
yeah.
two kind of just like simple.
What are some basic principles that you advocate for people to learn around financial literacy that they should have in their tool belt?
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited. Very simple from the get go, but will get you far is knowing your why. So, why you're starting this journey. And it's like, oh, the new year is coming. I want to pay off debt. I want to do this. I want to do that. But why? Why do you want to pay off debt? Oh, because I feel stressed. That is not going to get you out of like, I don't feel like doing this. And you need a little motivation. So, what I like to tell my clients is get you a fun why. So, instead of saying, my why is I want to be debt free, I want to save X, and I want you to be like, if I was debt free, then I can like travel more. Then maybe I can live half my time here and half the time in another state or country. Like something fun that's going to get you there through the hard times of paying off debt and saving and all of that. It is so important. The reason why I say that is because I tried so many times and I could never pay off my debt. But all of a sudden, I was my boyfriend at the time proposed and I said, "Okay, I want a wedding in Costa Rica." And we ended up saving $40,000 in 9 months. And I did that. And I was like, why couldn't I do that with my debt though? But I'm telling you, it's like, oh, I just want to be debt free. It's not going to motivate you to pay off debt. So get yourself a fun why to get you through those. So that's one. Number two is you cannot avoid a budget. Like I keep telling people, my clients are so smart, but because we are smart doesn't mean that our brains are not going to forget things. We cannot keep our numbers in our head. And so we'll need to budget. You cannot go any more into anything else unless you have a budget. And also because your budget helps you plan ahead. And so it's just a roadmap and you don't have to keep it in your head. You're more stress free if you just write it down. Get it out of your brain. It's what I always tell people. And then my third one is to build a safety net, so an emergency fund. About 56% of Americans do not have a $1,000 saved to pay for an emergency out of pocket. And so that's a big percentage of people. So if you get yourself to save $1,000, you're already ahead of so many people. But the key is to have a minimum of like three months of expenses. So if the thing happens, what just happened to me, a layoff, then you're not scrambling and you can say like, "Hey, I can take a month off and my bills are paid." Like, when can you get a month off? Usually jobs will give you 2 weeks or 3 weeks, some, right? Or like 4 maybe, but it's a maybe, right? But what if you were laid off and you had a savings? Or what if you got sick? Or what if someone in your family got sick and you have the luxury of stopping for a few months to take care of them? So, safety net.
Mm. I did not know that only what is the math? I'm not good at math. 40 40 44% of Americans have more than $1,000 as savings
No,
numbers, but
but that's what I tell people every time. I think when people think about personal finance or money coaches or a budget, it's like, I'm not good with money. Listen, I mean,
mm,
with numbers or with
mhm,
math.
mhm.
Listen, I am not good with math either. But if
Yes.
you have a phone, there's a calculator. Or
Mhm.
if you just buy a calculator, it's
Yeah.
fine. Like, you don't need to know math to be able to get ahead with money. So just
Yeah.
FYI, people.
Yeah. No, and that's crazy. 56% of Americans
Really?
don't have over $1,000.
Yeah.
So get your financial
Yeah.
things in order. And that's I love all of that.
We just don't talk about it. That's why we don't know. And there's a lot of shame on talking about debt and all of that. But yeah, more people are in debt than we know.
Yes,
Yeah.
girl, I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great segue into that, and this is like right before we wrap up. But what is your advice for folks who have high debt but also want to save money at the same time? Are there any strategies or anything that you can share that where I feel like that sometimes feels so paralyzing for folks because it's like I can't save. I have all this debt. I have to like pay that down first. So how is it that I can save money when I know I have this debt looming over me? Is there anything you can share about that?
Yeah. Um, so when I think about debt, if you are current in all of your bills and the debt is weighing very heavy on you, if you're paying the bills, even if it's the minimum, you're still good. But I think in order to stop being on survival mode, you need your emergency fund. You need a savings. So I think that you should prioritize that because if you're paying off a lot of debt and then a layoff happens, then what ends up happening is you're going to accrue that debt back and then we're back to the same spot. But if you have a savings, then you can deal with a headache like that as an inconvenience rather than feeling like the world is ending. So I just always want my clients to feel with that safety net, have a safety net. If anything happens, like you said, life is lifing, and it does time and time again. I just want people to always feel like, okay, I don't have to scramble. I have a savings. So that's one. Two is choose how to pay off your debt. Not just like randomly sending money to debt, but what you could do is you have the snowball method where you list your debt by the balances. So, what is the lowest balance that is due to the highest balance that is due? And you can start by, again, paying all of the minimums and then sending extra money to the lowest balance so that you can cross that off. That's the method I used when I was paying off debt because um, I love crossing things off and seeing that I'm actually making a dent into what I'm working on. If I don't see progress, it is very likely I am not going to continue. So that's what worked for me, and it can possibly work for you. Now, the other one is the avalanche method. You can list your debt and this time do it by interest rates. And so the highest interest rate is the one that you want to pay off first. And then the one at the bottom should be the lowest interest rate. And mathematically, this one saves you a lot of money because you are tackling the highest interest one. And so you're not accruing a lot of interest every month. What happens with this one is what if you owe a lot of money on that one? Like, what if it's a $10,000, let's say, and you're sending extra payments, but that's a big number. What if the other one was only 1,000? What if you just needed to kind of build the belief that you can pay off debt? And so I think when you choose your method on how to pay debt, choose it based on what your habits are and how disciplined you are. And that way you're going to get ahead with debt. But if you need to cross things off, if you need to see progress, I would say snowball versus the other one. I know sometimes we want to save money, but in this case, if you're going to give up, then we're stuck in the same cycle again. So those are two methods. And then I know I can talk a lot. Okay, last one. Number 3 is once thinking you already have a budget. So these sensors are with the expectation that you have a budget already. You can always go back to your budget and cut costs, right? Oh, maybe I shouldn't spend on this membership. Maybe I shouldn't spend on this. There's only so much you can cut down, but you can always increase your income. And that's where you have the most leverage, the most money that you can make. So I always tell people if you have more money, you can reach your money goals faster. So that can look like negotiating your income in your 9 to 5 or moving jobs so that you have a higher salary. You can bring that higher salary to your job that you have, see if they can match it, or starting a business or a side hustle. There's a lot of skills that we have that we can always monetize, but always earning more will definitely get you results faster for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Orlenda. That was so good. Thank you for sharing all of those
Yeah.
nuggets of wisdom, and especially around financial literacy and coaching and money coaching, because it is something that a lot of us would like to reach one day. Like, I know for sure I'm definitely going to think about my why more deeply around my financial debt, because I do have a lot of student loan debt. And my goal, I obviously wanna pay it off, but I wanna pay it off just so that I can see 0 balance, so that I my net worth is more than negative. My net worth is negative, okay? Like,
Yeah.
so, um, and I wanna be able to, one day purchase a home as well, or, you know, but thank you for sharing all of that.
Of
Before
course.
we wrap, where can people find you? How can people get in touch with you if they wanna work with you? What is the best way?
Yeah, you can always find me on Instagram and TikTok at Pero I Can Do It Too. And I think you'll have it in the bio as well, right? And my website is peroicandoit2.com. There's many blogs there, posts. So if you're trying to start your journey and you want just a hub of information, my blog is the place where you can click so many posts and start taking action in the new year. And please leave me a comment or message me an email on your progress. I would love to know that.
Awesome.
Also,
Thank you so much, Orlenda. I will be sharing all of that in the show notes. So if you're curious and you'd like to learn more about money coaching or Lenda, come on over to the show notes and you'll see all of her links. Make sure to follow her. And if you have any questions, I know I will have some posts on social media and come on over to the post and comment and or send a message over to Orlenda via Instagram. And I think you shared your email, right?
No, I didn't. My email is Orlenda Isabella double L at gmail.com.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Orlenda. This was so much fun. I want to thank you for coming on to the podcast and sharing your story, sharing your money story, your tips on money and coaching. I know that a lot of people are interested in learning more about their financial literacy and just like their journey that they can, the possibilities that could happen once you know, embark on that. So I want to thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me and for everyone listening. I just want you to know that it is possible to reach that goal that you have. Don't give up, just keep on trying. Have a fun why, and you will get there. I promise you.
Yay! Thank you. I know I will. I know. But this is for all the listeners too. You guys will too. All right. Thanks, Orlenda. Thank you for listening to the Be a Boss Coaching podcast. Remember to come on over to the beabosscoaching.com and book your free discovery call where you can learn more about coaching with me, what it takes to start a business and grow the skills while growing your business at the same time. I'm excited to learn more from you. Remember to sign up to our newsletter and come back every Monday and Friday for new episodes.